So November 2020, question number 2b. November 2020, question number 2b. That's what we have. Question number 2b, of course it is CPA. CPA. So the question reads, a company uses two methods to remunerate its casual workers as follows. So the piece rate with guaranteed time rate. So I want to look at what will be paid under piece rate. Piece rate with guaranteed. With guaranteed time rate. So spoiled units, we have the differential rate given there, but then after that, spoiled units are deducted from the first production, paid at the rate of shillings 10 per unit, and a penalty of 8% applied at the differential rate of the first production. Of the first production. So if you look at what is given there, under the piece rate, we have 3 employees. We have 𝐴MBOGA, we have 𝐵anyala and Charlie. So we are being told that the company pays its casual workers shillings 25 for every good output produced by them. A spoiled output is paid at the rate of 10 shillings and a penalty of 8% is charged based on the rate of the good production. The employees are guaranteed to a minimum monthly pay of 8,000. They are guaranteed to a minimum monthly pay of 8,000. So let's look at these 2 people here. We have 𝐴MBOGA, 3. We have 𝐴MBOGA, we have 𝐵anyala, and then we have Charlie. So are we able to get number of units produced? So units produced, we have 2,000, we have 1,800, we have 1,650. Then we have spoiled units, we have 200, we have 100, we have 50. So it means from that point we are able to get good units. So the good unit is now the difference. The good unit is now the difference. The good unit is now the difference. Then down there you're able to see we are being told that is under to determine wage payable to each employee under the 2 labor remuneration methods. So we are starting with the piece rate. Remember, we are starting with the piece rate method. The company pays its casual workers shillings 25 for every good unit. So wage rate, or the wages in bracket for good units, they're going to be paid 25 shillings per unit of good product. So of course at the rate of 25 shillings. So can someone give us the amount they are going to receive? The amount they are going to receive? the amount they are going to receive. Good units in shillings, and each at 25 shillings. So what are we going to have? 45,000. Then B, that is Banyala. Banyala, what will we have? What will we have for Banyala? It is 25 by 1700. How about Charlie? How about Charlie? 40,000. That is what we have. Then for every spoilt unit, so wages for spoilt, wages for spoilt units in also in shillings, but at what rate? We are being told they are going to be paid 25 for every good output produced by them. Any spoilt output is paid at the rate of shillings 10. So every spoilt product will be paid for at the rate of what? At the rate of 10 shillings. So let's come to the spoilt. Here is 200 by 10 will give us 2,000. Here will give us 1,000. Here we are going to have 500. That is wage that these people are going to receive for the spoiled goods that they produced. Then we have what we call now penalty. Penalty is coming in at what percentage or at what rate? A penalty of 8% is charged based on the rate of the good production. The employees are guaranteed a minimum monthly pay of 8% or 8,000. So a penalty of 8% is charged based on the rate of good production. So the penalty is 8%. The rate of good units here is 25 shillings. And a penalty is charged. What is the rate of the penalty? 8% of this rate here. So what will we have as the penalty rate? Penalty rate, 8% of 25. 8% of 25 is 2 shillings. So that 2 shillings we multiply by the spoiled products here. So here we're going to have amount of 400, but that one now we are going to deduct from what they are supposed to be receiving. Then we have 100 by 2 to give us 200, 50 by 2 to give us. Now, are we able to get wages receivable? Wages receivable to them, or the company will call it payable, or we can just call it wages, total wages or net wages. What will we have? What will we have? So just indicate A for hamburger, then you give me the amount there. What will we have? 54,600. 54,600. 51,300. And then 48,400. So that's what they are going to receive. That's what they are going to receive based on the units that they have produced, based on the units that they have produced here, both spoiled and good units. So we have that information there written. The employees are guaranteed a minimum monthly pay of 8,000. A minimum. B is 43,300. B is 43. because we have 43,500 minus 200. That is 43,300. Then here we have 40,500 minus 100 should be 40,400. It should be 40,400. Then this one here is 47 minus 400 should be 46,600. Okay, so that's what we have. That is what we have there. There's a question there that I need you to answer because we've covered that concept. They are guaranteed to a minimum of 8,000. They are guaranteed. They have a guaranteed minimum wage of 8,000. What does that statement mean? Can someone help us and understand that? Will we bring it to be part of the wages here? Will we bring it to be part of the wages that are given down there? I want to see, because these are some of the questions that we need to understand. It was not tested in the last sitting. The wage premium, the overtime, the bonus, the basic wage. So those are some of the concepts that you need to have as at today. I want to see, I expect all of us to at least say something there. Okay. What will we have? What will we have? Add back or add 8,000 to each? What will we have? What will we have there? We do not add since no one is earning less than 8,000. That is Brian telling us something there. Those who are telling us to add back, so Brian has supported the reason why we should not bring it here. How about those who are saying that we should add 8,000 to each? Why are you saying that? Why are you bringing that into the equation? Why are you seeing it fit for us to add the 8,000 to each employee? So the minimum wage that is guaranteed of 8,000, it is only going to be given to someone whose total wages is less than 8,000. If the wages that you're supposed to receive down here is less than 8,000, then automatically the company will give you 8,000, not that actual wage, which is less than 8. So the minimum guaranteed wage for each month is 8,000, the minimum guaranteed. Even if you are supposed to be given 500 shillings, that is what you worked for. They will not pay you 500. They will give you 8,000 because it is the minimum guaranteed amount that each person should receive at any given time. So that's why our total wages under piece rate is given to us in that manner. So let's now move to the second one. Of course, I believe you are keeping the values because you are going to compare which one should each employee consider. Which one should each employee consider? So we are going to have Banyala, then Charlie. So we have this one here. Now differential piece rate. It is now not guaranteed piece rate and guaranteed, but here we have differential piece rate. Differential piece rate. An employee is compensated on piece rate basis, and the following schedule is applied to determine his or her remuneration. So the first 0 to 250 units. So let's deal with the hamburger here. That is what we are going to have. The first 250 units. The first 250 units, hamburger will be paid 15 shillings. Hamburger will be paid 15 shillings. So the units that hamburger produced is given to us there as 2,000. Is given to us there as 2,000 units. But the good units is 1,800. So the first 250 hamburger will be paid 15 shillings. The next, or if it exceeds 250 by even 1 unit, he is entitled to 20 shillings per unit. So the next 250 units, will be paid 20 shillings per unit. So this one already has taken 500. Though the whatever was produced is 2,000, so we are going to have another bracket from 500 to 1,000. So it is not going to be the next 500. From 501 to 1,000 is entitled to 25 shillings. Is entitled to 25 shillings. So we should be having these values. Then if I add all these ones here, I already have 1,000. Then from 1,000 or over 1,000 is going to be paid 30. Is going to be paid 30 shillings. So can we have now the amount that the units we are going to have here? The units that we are going to have here. People are not calculating these things. So let me. So the first one here we have 800. Somebody is mentioning 800. Somebody is mentioning 800. So if I add this one here, I'm expected to have 2,000. I'm expected to have 2,000 because that is what was produced. That was the total production. Total production is 2,000. Remember, the 800 we are going to consider only if you are going to look for the penalty. That penalty is what will now tell us what to deduct from what is entitled to. So the total number of units first, you'll be paid for 2,000 units. Will be paid for 2,000 units. So you are told that spoiled units are deducted from the first production, paid at the rate. So let's just get that statement. The spoiled units are deducted from the first production, paid at the rate of 10 shillings per unit, and a penalty of 8% applied at different rates of the first production, or at the differential rate of the first production. So we first of all get the spoiled units are supposed to be deducted from the first production. The spoiled units are supposed to be deducted from the first production. So the first schedule here, the first schedule is here. The first schedule is there. So that first schedule, this first schedule here, is where we deduct the spoiled units. So how many spoiled units were we having for hamburger? We add 200. So it means whatever is going to be paid here will not be for the first 250. The first 250, we are taking away 200 to be spoiled. So he's going to receive 50 by 15. So 50 plus the 200 that we've taken away will give us 250, 500, 1,000 plus 1,000, 2,000. So we have what we call now spoiled. We have spoiled, which will be subtracted. So the spoiled units. So the spoiled goods, we have 200, and then this 200, there's a penalty. The spoiled units are deducted from the first production, paid at the rate of 10. Paid at the rate of 10 per unit, and a penalty of 8% applied at differential rate of the first production. So penalty. So that penalty now goes to the 200 units at what rate? At the rate of 8% of the differential price in the first production. So this one will give us the cost or the selling price per unit that will be used to charge the penalty. If that is done, we'll be able to get total wages. So just do the calculation, then you get me the figures. Then when we now go to Banyala, we have 1,800. How many spoiled goods were there? 100. So the first batch of 250, I think you're able to see the scale. 1 to 250, they're going to be paid 15 shillings. But then Banyala is already having 100 spoiled. In the batch of the first 250, 100 are spoiled, which are supposed to be deducted from that batch, which means we are only going to take 150 in the first batch. We multiply by 15. Consider it, or let me just put it this way, then you are going to understand. We have 250, the first batch. Then we again move to the second batch because the total production is 1,800. We multiply by 20. The third batch, we have 500 at 25. If I add these ones here, still it is less than 1,800. So I will now proceed to get the balance. Anything that is over 1,000 will be paid at the rate of 30. This one is 1,000. It exceeds 1,000 by 800. It exceeds 1,000 by 800. So that is what we have. But we are being told the spoiled goods are going to be paid for at what rate? At 10%. At 10 shillings. So the spoiled for this person here is 100. Is going to be paid for the spoiled goods, but at what price? At 10 shillings. That is the spoiled revenue being received for the spoiled goods. Then now they come up with the penalty. The penalty is now going to be 100 multiplied by 8% of the wage rate, 8% of the wage rate in the first batch. That is what we are being told. The 100 that are spoiled are supposed to be deducted from the first batch. So if I get away 100 from this point, that's why I was indicating 150. I believe it is now making sense to somebody. Yes, the first one is 150. That's why I was doing it that way, so that you understand why at this point I have 50, here I have 150, yet the scale given there says from 1 to 50. Let's get the meaning for Charlie here. Charlie produced 1,650 units. So the first batch, we are going to take 250. The first batch is 0 to 250, paid at 15. The second batch, paid at 20. This one is only 500, still less than that. Then we have 500, paid at 25. If we do that, all this will give us 1,000. Then we are told anything that is over 1,000, anything that is over 1,000 will be, will be paid for. At what rate? At 30 shillings per unit. This one is 1,000. This person managed to produce 1,650. So 1,650 from minus 1,000, we are going to remain with 650. Then we are told that the spoiled goods, which is 50, will be paid for. The company will still pay them for the spoiled goods, but now at a lower rate of 10 shillings. Then the company comes up now with a penalty. The penalty will be charged on the spoiled goods at what rate? 8% of the rate in the first bar. In the first bar, or in the first schedule there, 8% of 15. That penalty we subtract because it reduces the wages that these people are entitled to. Now, at this point, we are told that you deduct the spoiled goods, this 50. This 50 here, we deduct it from the goods in the first batch here. So that's why when we take away 50, we are going to remain with the 200. So if you look at what they are going to be paid for, forget about the penalty first. Let's assume this penalty thing is not there. Try to add the units that you have. 50 plus 250, that is 300, 800, 1,000, 800, 2,000. If you look at the total goods that this person produced, it is 2,000. Here, 150 plus 250, that is 400. 400 plus 500, that is 9. 900 plus 800, 1,700. You are able to see 1,700 plus 100 is supposed to be 1,800. So what do we have as the goods produced by Banyala? Total is 1,800. Here, 200, that is for 50 plus 500, 950 plus 650, we are going to have 1,600 plus 50, 1,650. That's the total goods that were produced by Charlie. Before we bring in the element of the penalty. So let's now calculate these things and you give me the values down here. Total wages payable to these people. So let's now engage our calculators very fast. We are going to have 750. We are going to have 5,000. We are going to have 12,500. We are going to have 3,000. We are going to have 2,000. Then here, 8% of 15 shillings will be 1.2. So the rate here is 1.2. The rate there is 1. Is basically 1.2. 1.2. That is what we have. So of course, this penalty we subtract. So 1.2 by 200 will give us 240. We subtract it. We subtract the 240. So If I subtract 240 from 2000, then we have 3000, we have 12,500, we have 5000, we have 750. I'm going to have 23,010. Here, 150 times 15, 2250. Then 250 by 20. Of course, this one will be 5,000 for all of them. So that's the simplest way of doing this. Then I have 200 by 15, that is 3,000. Here, 500 by 250 is giving me 12,500. So that is the same all through. Then now the excess, 1,000 by 800 by 30 will give me 24 and the 3 zeros. So that's 24,000 if I'm not wrong. This by this 650 by 30 will give me 19,500. Then I have 1,000 here. I have 500. Then 100 by 1.2 is 120. Of course, a deduction 1.2, I think this one will be 60. A deduction. So can I now get the total wage? 2250 plus 5,000 plus 12,500 plus 24,000 plus 1,000 minus 240 or 120 minus 120. I'm going to have 44,630. 3,000 plus 5, that is 8, plus 12, that is 2,500, plus 19,500, plus 500, minus 60. Minus 60, we are going to have a total of 40 for 40. So I believe we are getting such figures there. I believe we are getting such figures there. I believe we are getting such figures there. That's what we have. So you are told to determine the wages payable to each employee under the two labor remuneration methods. We've calculated that. Advise each employee on the best labor remuneration method to accept based on your computations in B1 above. So after calculating this, the company tries to minimize expenses. Employees tries to maximize what they are receiving from the company, trying to maximize their claims. So, Amboga, between this one here, under differential and the guaranteed piece rate, are we going to adopt the differential or the piece rate? Amboga's total, or there's a problem with this? Can someone give me the correct value? Where are you getting 1.2? It is 50,010. It is 50,010. This one is 30,000, not 3. Okay, it is 50,010. Somebody is asking where we are getting 1.2. Can you go to additional information given down there below the table? Spoiled units are deducted from the first production, paid at the rate of 10 per unit, and a penalty of 8% applied at the differential rate of the first production. The first production, just look at what we have in the schedule. We have number of units where we have 1 to 250, 251 to 500, 501 to 1,000. Then rate of wages per unit. So in that column, the first production occurs at 1 to 250. What is the rate? I believe the rate is 15 shillings. So you are being told that the penalty that they are going to pay per unit, per spoiled unit, is going to be 8% of the rate in the first bar. So this goes to someone here by the name Sharon. So Sharon, can you give us 8% of 15? 8% of 15, please. Sharon, what will you have? 8% of 15? 8% of 15. Sharon should be able to give us that. 8% of 15, what do you get? 1.2. So I believe your question is answered. This is what we are applying, and it is the same all through. So after putting this, we've known the origin, we just now insert it here. So that's what we did. So compare. Can someone give me the rate which was payable to these people under the piece rate? Under the piece rate and guaranteed, what were we having for Amboga? 46,600. How about Banyala? 43,300. How about Charlie? So advice. As an employee, are you going to take the piece rate and guaranteed, or you are going to go for the differential piece rate? Which one will you adopt? Which one will you adopt? Which one will you adopt? The differential, because it gives the highest salary or wages to these individuals. That's why they are going to adopt the differential. But if it was a company, if you are told to advise the company, then they could have adopted this one here, because it makes them to have the lowest liability in form of salary and wages. Okay, but there's a question there. Discuss 4 objectives of budgetary control system in an organization. Yes, that theory. Objectives of budgetary control system. Objectives of budgetary control system. Can someone mention them down there? You already have that in your notes. In LMS also it is there. Can someone mention that very fast? Objectives of budgetary control system. Objectives of budgetary. Objectives of budgetary. Objectives of budgetary control. Basically, just go to the objectives of budgeting, and then you are good to go. Objectives of budgeting. Objectives of budgeting. So the objectives involving different levels of management in a cooperative endeavor to accomplish the firm's objective, facilitate centralized control with delegated authority and responsibility, ensuring adequate working capital in other resources for efficient application, achieving maximum profitability by planning income and expenditure. I saw somebody indicating something to do with planning, decision making, ensure the firm is not deflected from its long-term objectives without being overwhelmed by emergencies. Organizations use this system to coordinate their activities such as sales, production, purchase of material, the budgeting, the practical part of it that you are applying. Remember, we are doing what we call the production budget, usage budget, purchases budget, then labor cost budget. So all these, how are they useful to the organization? Production budget here helps you to know what you are actually required to produce. Then that one will tell you the quantity of raw material you are going to require. That is the usage. From that usage, you'll be able to know the purchases. What are you going to purchase? Do you have money to accommodate that expense? Then the labor cost charges. What are you going to apply? What amount are you going to spend to bring in the labor? falls into the organization. Is it expensive? Is it cheap? Is it affordable? Is it manageable in the short term and long term of this particular organization? That's what you need to look at. All that is done only if you have an effective budgetary control system. And that's what we have there. So the moment you mention the objectives, you are supposed to score your marks. Serves as a basis for performance evaluation. Yes, you have a budget, somebody normally has. You create a budget, execute it, then have your actual expenditure, then you now compare the variations. If it is positive variation, of course you are going to say, yes, we did it perfectly. If you said, I budgeted to spend, so we have selling expenses. We budgeted to spend 5 million. We actually spent 3 million but achieved everything. So we have a positive variance. Then it is good. But then you also have to do what we call, now looking for feedback. Why are we having this positive variation? Is it that we forgot to spend some money in some of the items we classified under selling expenses? Was there a change in the selling expenses cost, related cost, or the components below it? How can we do the adjustment so that we don't just be happy about the positive variance without considering what actually happened? So I believe that part of revision is enough for us, and we can now proceed with what we are supposed to do